Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome to this live stream that was your top vote, because I asked you what you'd like me to do videos about, and more than any of you, you wanted videos about Saturn transits and what they mean. So this is what I'm going to be talking about today. I chose today simply because today is the Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year of the Earth Dog. Brought my dog here along to say hello. Don't know if you can see him yet, but it is the year of the Chinese dog. And the Earth Dog, to me, has a great affinity with Saturn, because the Earth Dog is supposed to be very responsible, hard-working, loyal, and a little bit serious sometimes. I'm not an expert on Chinese astrology, but this is what we're coming into during this year. The last time we had an Earth Dog year was 58 to the beginning of 1959. So welcome to all of you who are coming online now. Hope you like my doggy. He sleeps with me sometimes. And just really Happy New Year to those of you coming on who are Chinese. Thank you very much. And I've been told I've got to be behaved with my welcoming spirit and not go over the top with it. And one big message about Saturn is that it teaches us moderation, not to go to extremes. Now, Saturn affects all of us at different times in our lives. No matter where it was when you were born, it's still going to be affecting you every 7 years, roughly. So every 28, 29 years, it does the full circle and comes back to where you were born. And every 7 years approximately, it's going to square, then oppose, and then square again your natal Saturn. So very often people get things happening hello, I'm welcoming you. Yes, you want to be welcomed. Well, I truly hope you do feel welcomed, because I couldn't wait to do this video. I've been excited all day, just meditating and contemplating how to share this very important information with you in a way that will be valuable and useful and help you, because Saturn is all about form, the physical form. We've got Saturn right now in its strongest place. It's in Capricorn. Went there at the end of December 2017, and therefore it's in Capricorn all this year and all of next year. So we've got this influence strongly of Saturn. So therefore it's important to know how to use Saturn constructively. So now, Saturn teaches you responsibility, maturity. It's when you become able to stand on your own 2 feet. Very often, Saturn brings lessons, something for you to learn, and it often hits the weak part of your life, because that's the bit that's not making you happy anyway. So Saturn will often draw your attention to it, sometimes by making it a little painful or unpleasant, or even causing some suffering, but nonetheless, it gives you an opportunity to restructure your life so that you can feel productive and valuable and strong in your own right. So, it would be very valuable for you to know where your natal Saturn is in your chart. And I've said this a few times, but you can get a free astrology chart from my website. If you go under reports, and you'll see free, you'll get a mini reading as well. Enter in your birth details. So you've got my website, which is yourastrologysigns.com. And then find out where your natal Saturn is. And then also look at where the sign Capricorn is in your chart. I feel as though I should draw that. Yes, let me draw it for you. So the sign Capricorn, looking like this. That's what you're looking for in your chart. Which house is Saturn currently transiting? And what I'm going to do now in this live video, before I take questions, because I will take questions towards the end, is I'm going to look at the houses so that you will be able to relate to this video for yourself and use it, I hope, constructively. So let's break it down first of all into the elements. If Saturn is transiting your 1st, 5th or 9th houses, these are known as the fire houses, then you are probably going to be dealing with issues of self-confidence. Feeling as though you can stand out in your own uniqueness. If it's going through the earth houses, which are the 2nd, the 6th and the 10th houses, then you're going to be dealing with your self-worth. And are you feeling productive and useful? Now maybe it's going to be going through your air houses, which are the 3rd, the 7th and the 11th houses. And if it's going through those houses, then chances are you're going to be looking at issues to do with your relationships. And finally, if it's going through the water houses, then you're going to be looking at issues to do with your inner self. Going inwards, finding your inner strength. So I'm going to go through each of the houses, and let's look at what this now means. So Saturn going through the 1st house, over the ascendant and into the 1st house. So for those of you who are looking on your charts, who've gone to get your free chart from my website, which you can get at yourastrologysigns.com, you're looking, I'm just drawing a quick chart here, getting myself to be versatile in the moment here. You're looking at this 1st house. This is the 1st house. So here is your ascendant. I hope this comes out the right way, actually. I'm not sure that it does. Am I in reverse here? So you're looking for that 1st house. There is a delay on the live stream. So I am hoping that that comes out the right way. So if Saturn's crossing the ascendant and into the 1st, then you'll be looking at your physical body. You're looking at maybe your health, and you're looking at possibly a total rebuild of your life, because it's right at the beginning. And often it may feel as though I've missed. Thank you. You guys are just wonderful. It's really a challenge to stay Saturnian and focused when you're inviting me to Dubai and saying all kinds of beautiful things. Thank you for all the things that you are sharing with me. I appreciate it, and I'm going to stay focused. And towards the end, I'm going to take some questions where we can interact a little bit more, because I think there has to be a balance. I'm just realizing now. Saturn teaches moderation. So Jupiter, on the one hand, teaches us exaggeration, and then Saturn contracts and says, whoa, you've gone over the top a little bit there. Now let's see what's useful from all these wonderful visions and ideas that Jupiter had. So there is a balance. Thank you for loving me in the States. I love the States as well. And so if Saturn is beginning its journey around your chart, you're going to be in some way looking at your self-confidence. Maybe you've been relying on other people for your self-confidence, looking for their feedback instead of feeling it inside of you. It's a real opportunity maybe to go on a health regime, a diet, something really that puts structure into your life, because you're starting a 28-year cycle, 29-year cycle, when Saturn goes across that ascendant. Now maybe you've got a Saturn around the ascendant, maybe you're born with Saturn around the ascendant. And people who are born either with Capricorn rising or Saturn around the ascendant are often very, very responsible. They've got an old head on young shoulders. Yes, they often take responsibility of family members, even if those family members are a lot older than them. So that's the first house. I'm going to just go around because this could take me hours if I'm teaching this and going into real depth, and I will do some videos on in the depth about this. But I want to give you the taster right now so that you can just get a feeling of what it means and really learn some astrology with me. So very often Saturn through the first can make you feel as though you're starting again. And very often you are. And it is an opportunity to reconstruct yourself, your physical body and your whole life. The challenge with it being in the first house is not to feel depressed and not to feel sorry for yourself that things might not be moving as fast as you'd like them to move. Often I find that clients, they take up a hobby or something they love at this time and really want to turn it into a business. And it takes a lot of hard work. Wherever Saturn is transiting in your chart often means that you're going to have to work hard in that life area, and that if you're willing to work at it, boy, it's going to pay off for you royally. That's the advantage with Saturn, is that if you focus and you work and you put the effort in, you will reap the rewards. Now let's say Saturn's going through your second. All right, so the second house here, I'm just going to write here, that's this quadrant. Not quadrant, sorry, segment. Okay, that's the second. Quite a delay until it comes up, but all right, it's coming. There we go. So you're looking for that second house. So if it's transiting your second house, people get awfully afraid and say, oh, that's my money, I'm going to be in trouble financially. Well, it depends really on how you've been acting towards your finances before that transit. If you've been really responsible, then chances are You're going to reap some rewards when Saturn goes through that house. You're going to find that if you've been really working hard on a project or something, you could really financially do very well during that Saturn transit. I know there's mixed reports about that. People say that you can be under dire straits with Saturn through the second, which you can if you have been taking out huge loans, not being able to pay them back, borrowing money from everybody around you and not paying them back and continuing to borrow. Or maybe you've been gambling excessively and not being responsible. Well, then Saturn can really be your time of reckoning to show you how to be responsible with money and how to feel good about your own productivity, your own value, how to find your own value. Because once you do that, then you will be able to make money. You will be able to charge for what you do. You'll feel good about it. You won't have any qualms about it. So don't be nervous about Saturn in the second. Even if you have not been, if you've been reckless with money, it will give you an opportunity to get your finances in order. Time for a drink. Thank you for your appreciative comments. I do appreciate it. Don't think I'm not looking. I am. And I'm going through it. So, third house. And all right, you're asking for which signs. So I'm going to base what I'm saying on an ascendant, but you can take it to mean your sun sign as well. So going through your first house at the moment will be Capricorns. Anybody with Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, you're going to be affected strongly by Saturn, and you might be reorganizing and restructuring your life. Hello Australia, hello Saudi Arabia. And I know this is possibly frustrating for those of you coming online later who are not live with me now. I'm just trying to create balance here, and it's not the easiest, and I'm sure you're going to give me feedback, so please do. I'm learning how to do live videos. So, that's the first house. The second house that I've just been through, well, going through the second house for you now is the Sagittarius. So for you Sagittarians, if you're Sag rising or you've got a Sag sun, then Saturn is going to be affecting your second house of money. Thank you for telling me I'm doing good. Thank you. Good feedback. So now, Scorpios. Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun. It'll be going through your third house. And Saturn transiting your third house has everything to do with communications. You might decide that you've got little time for chit-chat and superfluous communications. Yes? You might say to yourself, I just want to study something seriously and get a qualification. I often find people with Saturn going through the third house study for something seriously. Maybe you'll get a CPA, or you'll go to medical school, or you'll get some serious qualifications that mean something that will enable you to pursue a serious career. Saturn enables you to get serious and to manifest in the world tangibly. And the third house may also bring about a huge change in your beliefs. I've often found people who've got to really serious meditating at this time. They've gone so crazy with their mind all over the place that Saturn through the third enables them to focus, to study, to learn, to communicate clearly, not to be scattered all over the place. It stops you being scattered, Saturn through the third, that's for sure. So that's your third house, and that really affects the Scorps. And now the fourth house. So the fourth house is an inner house. The first three are more outward going. The fourth is inward. So for you, this is going to be my Librans. It's affecting your fourth house. Is that right? No, it's not right. Rubbish. Do you know, I am really, Saturn's bringing me up short, you see. I'm doing a video about Saturn transits in the year of the dog. I think I need my dog. I'm bringing my dog here. I need a bit of help. So, let's get the dog, because I'm making a right pig's ear of this. So right now, I'm just drawing my chart again. So we've got Aries. So Capricorn is in the 10th, if it's Taurus. So now it's Scorpio. I've got my knickers in a right twist here, because I'm trying here to work out, if anybody's really good at astrology and listening with me now, any astrologers, you can give me a hand here, because things go backwards. Thank you for helping me here. You see, the dogs are going to be big this year of the Earth dog. Earth dogs are very loyal. No matter what you do, no matter how you're dressed, no matter how you're doing anything, they always come and give you a bit of love, don't they? So keep calm and go on. I just realized that I just made, so Capricorn is absolutely right. So for Capricorns in the first house, for Sagittarius in the second house, Capricorn, yes. For Scorpio, it's in your third house. For Libras, it's in your fourth house. I was quite right. Thank you for wanting to help me. I am a little nervous now, but you're just seeing everything real, and I'm being shown where I need to work a little harder. Thank you, you helped. So he's going to sit down now. Okay. So, thank you, Norika. Phew. So I was on the right tracks. I don't know what got me off the tracks there, but okay. So fourth house, the inner self, the inner you. It's going to be Libra rising and Libra suns. So this is going to be all about your identity, finding your roots, finding your tribe, and you might need to release trauma from childhood, from the past, things that really, my audio's no good, gosh, thank you for letting me know, it's okay now. Boy, live video is a, is a challenge. You can't correct anything, but maybe that's a good thing. You're seeing things as they are. So the fourth house, I often tell people who've got a Saturn transit of the fourth house that this is not usually the best time to buy real estate or to do anything in land and property. And if you're going to do something to do with land, property, buying, selling, negotiations, you've got to do lots and lots of due diligence, lots of it. Because if you end up buying something that needs a lot of work, with a Saturn transit, you might find that you spend double or more than the amount you had anticipated. It brings you usually more work to do. This fourth house transit also has to do with finding your inner faith, your inner trust once again. Sometimes there can be a deep feeling of a loss of a parent or a loss of a loved one. Not that you necessarily lose somebody at that time, no, not necessarily, but that you feel as though you'd like to be nurtured, and you don't feel so nurtured very often with Saturn through that fourth, because you have to learn how to nurture you. That's one of the challenges and one of the lessons of that Saturn through the fourth. It's very pivotal when Saturn goes through that fourth house, because you're at the beginning there of a 14-year cycle as it makes its way to the top of your chart. So it's really important to find your foundations, even if your foundations are small. Yes, even very often when Saturn goes through the fourth, you move somewhere smaller. You downsize rather than upsize. But you're finding something inside of yourself that is very stable and strong. So, the fifth house. Transiting the fifth is going to be for Virgos. Virgo rising, Virgo sun can relate to this as well. So, this is a fire house. This is about self-confidence, issues of self-confidence. Saturn through your fifth is asking you to take your creative abilities seriously. What makes you unique? What makes you special? And for you to work on that. Yeah? You may find initially with Saturn through the fifth that you're looking for love and attention from other people. And really what's being called for is that you find that love and attention for you. And as you do that, I've seen a lot of people with Saturn through the fifth actually turn a hobby into a business of their own. It's often when people become self-employed. It's often when you decide, right, I'm going to make my musical career. I love music, or I love painting, or I love cookery, or I love animals, or I love technology, or I love healing, and I'm going to make that into my business, my work, my life's work. I'm creative. I'm going to bring my creative quirk. There's a lot of astrologers on YouTube, and I can't be like those other astrologers. I do astrology in the way that Barbara does it. Some people like it, some don't, and that's okay. What is it that you do, Virgos, that is unique and creative to you? And then you can make that into something really solid with Saturn transiting that fifth. Now, what if it's transiting your sixth house? So this is going to be for the Leos. This is really difficult, and you know, it's good because Saturn makes things difficult. Yes, it really does. Often you'll find, here's an obstacle, and it pushes you beyond comfort zone. I'm used to thinking about the astrology signs forwards. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, that way, not backwards. And right now I'm having to compute them backwards because the ascendant moves in a way such as that I have to share them now in a backwards fashion with you. No excuses, but I'm just saying the synapses in my brain are, if you can smell burning, you know what's happening. So Leos, it's going through the sixth for you. Leo sun, Leo rising. So through the sixth, this is often a time when you look at your physical health, your physical well-being. It can be a time where you need to look at how can I get stronger? How can I build more strength into my physical health? Do I need to be more flexible and really work at that? Really work at it. So you might have to work at your physical health, but if you're willing to do that during a Saturn transit, I've often seen people get really healthy. It's like they go on a diet, they do exercise, they do weights, they do Tai Chi, yoga, whatever it is, but boy, they get resolved with Saturn there. So it can be difficult, it can take effort, but it's well worth it. Saturn through your 6th will also have you look at your time, how you use time. Are you frittering it away, doing this and that and the other? Or do you need to be more focused? Sometimes people lose their jobs during Saturn through the 6th. Often the company they work for may go through a restructuring. And this can be a time where you really need to focus your abilities, focus your efforts and not give up. Often Saturn through the 6th, you know, it's like, oh, this is too hard. Oh, yes, there's always initially, I find, with a Saturn transit, when it actually goes through a house. Well, you saw me, I had to get the doggy when it got hard just now, earlier, because I needed a bit of comfort. And that's the opposite of Saturn, you see, because Capricorn's opposite is Cancer. We've always got to remember the balancing of the opposites in astrology. Always, yin and yang. So always remember to soothe yourself with a bit of moon Cancerian energy when the going gets tough with some of these Saturn transits, because it is a bit tough. And you do feel a bit sorry for yourself sometimes. Until you get resolved and say, I'm not going to be beaten, I'm going to do what it takes to be able to grow and to learn from the lessons that Saturn is trying to teach me. But soothe yourself in the meantime. Very soothing to have him. So, thank you. So, that's Saturn through the 6th there. Now, Saturn through the 7th. That's going to be everything about your relationships. And who's this affecting? Well, that's one backwards. That is now Cancerians. Lovely Cancerians. Cancer rising, Cancer sun. It's going to hit your 7th house of relationships. Don't get nervous about this. How do I see this play out? Well, if you've been in a relationship that's not been very serious, you might just decide, hey, look, this is time for commitment. You'll be dealing very much with issues of commitment and compromise through this 7th house, because the 7th house is ruled by Libra. So there's always this desire for compromise, yeah, how to balance things. And when Saturn's there, it's like, hey, we've got to get real. So a relationship that's not been real either gets real during a Saturn transit or it's the end, it's curtains. It's not one or the other. It's not half-hearted. Sometimes it is the end of a relationship. It's time to say, to take rose-tinted glasses off and really see it for what it is. Maybe you've just been compromising too much and you're just giving up too much of yourself and too many of the needs that you want fulfilling. And that's why relationships can end during Saturn transits. However, Saturn can also, I have seen, strengthen a relationship because it forces the people in the relationship to work hard at it. If I see this coming up for somebody, I say to them, hey, you married, you're in a relationship, get ready. You're going to have some challenges, but boy, if you stick in there and you're willing to put the effort in, when you get through the Saturn transit, which is roughly 2.5 years approximately that it stays in a house, it's not the shortest of transits, I know. But boy, at the end of that transit, that relationship is pretty much unbreakable. Very, very strong. Sometimes you can feel very alone, and it's showing you how to be strong being alone and not needing a relationship, being dependent on a relationship, but being fine on your own and not having to have somebody in your life. Wanting and liking maybe, desiring but not having to. Now, through your 8th house. Now this is going to be for the Geminis, Gemini rising and Gemini sun. Going through your 8th house is another inner house. Here you're going to be looking at issues of power, issues of control. Anything you've been holding on to may have to be released during this Saturn transit of your 8th house. You might be looking at anything to do with finances. If you're in a joint financial situation, your partner may go through some challenges, might be difficult. Or if you're in a partnership or a collaborative venture, you might find that this relationship has some issues that have to be worked through. You might be dealing with issues of intimacy, of trust, of facing your deepest fears. Sometimes you can feel really quite alone. But if you go into it, because it's an inner house, the 4th, the 8th, the 12th are inner houses, you'll find that you come through, wow, really strong, and you'll move into the light when it comes into the 9th house. And the 9th house is for my Taurians. Taurus rising, Taurus sun, transiting your 9th. Now this is going to be challenging your faith, your perspective on life. Often your spiritual direction may come up for questioning. I often find that people travel for work at this time. There's often an opportunity to go overseas with your job, take your career overseas and really make something serious internationally with it. Often I find when Saturn goes through the 9th, it's an opportunity for great self-improvement. People often do a long course of study, or they start teaching something, or they publish that book that they've been meaning to get out there. Finally, they get out. You see? So it's really powerful for your spiritual growth and direction. And let's say it's going through your 10th house. Well, your 10th house is for the Aries and Aries rising. Through your 10th is going to be everything to do with your feeling of achievement. What have you achieved? Your career. So if you've been working very hard at your career for a long time, you will find that you get the rewards, the appreciation, everything coming to you at this time. If you have been lost in your career, let's say, it's time often for an ending of one career and a movement into something different, a new direction for your career. If you've not been acting with integrity in your career, then the consequences can appear for you. It's like karmic consequences when Saturn hits that 10th house. And it also gives you an opportunity to really look at where you feel you stand in the world. And this isn't necessarily only career, but it is often to do with whether you feel you're making a difference, whether you feel that you matter, yes, whether you feel that you are doing something that really makes a difference in other people's lives in some way, and your sense of achievement. There is always a desire with Saturn through the 10th in wanting to achieve something measurable, tangible. get Saturn through the 11th house. And this is for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So Saturn through your 11th house. Well, very often this is a reorganization, a restructuring of your friendships. A restructuring of your social networks. And once again, Saturn through that 11th, sometimes you can feel a little lonely. You feel as though, who are these people? What am I doing in these various networks? Sometimes a long friendship may come to an end, or it needs more work on it so that it can thrive. You will also be looking at your role in the world that is beyond the personal. The 11th house is the collective, it's all of us, it's the internet getting together here online together. So it is everything to do with things that are beyond romance, your relationships, your finances, your career, but where you belong maybe in the wider community. What satisfies you further and wider. And then finally, we've got the 12th house, and that is for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. Gosh, he's been so helpful today. See, that's my little doggy here. Really, if you give yourself a little balance of tenderness when you go through the hard times, then it makes it so much easier. Even if it's just a dog, a stuffed dog. But he feels very real. I don't know if you've read The Velveteen Rabbit. For those of you that have, that's one of my favourite little fairy tales, where the animals have been so loved that they don't have eyes anymore, or noses or ears, but they're just full of love. And you can feel love vibrations, even in things that are not animate. So sometimes Saturn gets you to take things too seriously. And it's really important to find the balance between the seriousness of Saturn and the nurturing of the Cancer, the moon energy, which is opposite the Saturn vibration. Really important. So, 12th house. 12th house is the innermost house, and it's the house where you release everything. It's the house where you just let go of everything. It's a surrendering. It's the questioning of, why am I here? What am I doing here? It's a releasing of old attachments. I often find that people through the 12th find deep spiritual meaning in their lives. You find meaning in the suffering that you've gone through. You find meaning in the things that have been traumatic for you. And you're able often to release deep-rooted traumas. Sometimes there are psychological issues that can really be dealt with. Obsessions, compulsions, that really get completed during that transit of the 12th house. So it's powerful stuff. So that's really your Saturn transits through all the houses. And when I do this in a class, and we can do some webinars on this, for those of you interested, I'll do a little poll afterwards to see whether you want that kind of a thing. We'll take personal examples, and we'll look at that in more detail as how it's playing out in your lives. But this was just a relatively quick sojourn through the houses. And now I'm up for a couple of questions here. Has anybody got any burning questions that would be kind of almost general type questions about Saturn, so that it could apply for most people here? Okay. Well, there is a time lag here. Saturn again. How to get on Saturn's good side? Thank you, Erica Espinosa. Thank you. Great question. How to get on Saturn's good side? Be prepared not to give up. Say to yourself, I'm not going to give up, even if this gets hard. So for example, I can give you an example in my own life right now. There's many times when I want to give up learning Greek. It is so bloody hard. There are so many occasions where I'm just like, I can't be bothered. It's too hard. So if you find yourself saying it's too hard, and it is yet something that you do know you'd like to learn or you'd like to accomplish, then work with Saturn. And if you do it, you get the rewards. But you have to go through that hump. There's a certain hump that you go through. And you know how it is. We even have growing pains when you're growing up. It's painful to grow into a bigger body, from being little into bigger. So, yeah, that was a great question. Thank you. How does the year of the dog affect us collectively? Thank you, Rose. I'm not a Chinese astrologer expert, but from what I have gleaned and read about it, I do believe that the year of the dog is showing us all about hard work and staying power. Because dogs are really hard workers, especially when you train them. They love to work. They love to be, they need the rewards. You give them little cookies and little rewards, but boy, the tails go in, they're ready to work, they're ready to help, they're ready to do. And that's why I did the Saturn video today, because I thought it coincided so well with this Chinese New Year and the vibrational feeling of it. Yes, another thing, thank you, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. That's another way of describing Saturn. Don't try and do too many things, that's another Saturnian thing. How to get on the good side of Saturn, don't try and do too many things. Focus on one thing at a time, do it really well to the best of your ability, and then you'll feel good about yourself. You know how it is when you've worked hard, you get to the end of the day, you feel as though you've accomplished something. Doesn't it feel great? Yeah. So, how to overcome fear during Saturn transit? Thank you, Shruti Agarwal. Thank you. Good question. I think the best thing you can do with the fears that often come up with a Saturn transit is to be prepared to be alone, to not look to depend on others for answers, and that you find the answers within. Yes, you find something deeper inside of you, and you're willing to dig for that. You know, like dogs, they like digging and going down, yes, and finding things, finding those bones. So dig for those bones. Really dig, and then the fear won't be getting at you because you'll be too busy working and getting on with it, really, because that's what the Saturn is wanting you to do. So yes, thank you very, very, very much, all of you, for listening. I truly didn't think this was going to be such a long video, nor did I think it was going to be so much hard work. But I guess that's really teaching me that I'm showing you what Saturn is about by showing you how it's affected me during this live video. So thank you very, very much for listening. I always appreciate your feedback, and much love to you all. And bye from my little friend Zebedee.